How do you see the emerging Renaissance in relationship to the present moment?
I want to go back to sort of when I started thinking about emerging Renaissance, because this isn't something recent. It was back really around the time of the beginning of the hieroglyph of the human soul, which was 9/11, 2001. And I became very aware that the Renaissance, or rebirth, a sense of resetting our values, our sense of priorities, always comes in a time of difficulty, a time of darkness. You could say that we really are in a type of alchemical laboratory where the most difficult journey really necessitates that we rethink where we're telling our story from. And so I created Ollendar Foundation for Emerging Renaissance. Again, foundation as a type of foundation stone, not so that we would have a place that says, at least here, these things matter. And interestingly enough, I discovered that the acronym for Ollendar Foundation for Emerging Renaissance is OFFER. And I thought, what a marvelous thing to think about at this time is that we are being offered a moment to see a world that is churning with chaos, that is pulling us into contradiction and anger, that is trying in all ways to divert our attention from our own power into being angry with the world. And as I said before, this sense of the fire, this rage, it's about someone else and something else. These are the fires, though, that for those of us that do understand, and I always quote Socrates saying, an unexamined life is not worth living. And those of us that do understand that part of our responsibility is to examine, not simply to react, but to say, how am I part of this question? What's my relationship in this play? What's my character? What's my role? And my role, I realized, was one that I had taken a page from Ralph Waldo Emerson, this great American writer and poet and philosopher of the 19th century, who really taught me to create a place where we could at least get together and say amongst ourselves, let these things matter. Because he understood then that to help the world is not to react to it, but to go deeper than the problems, to actually say, what are the root causes? And so my home has been devoted to this sense of, let us gather here. Let us not shout at each other any more than the characters in a play should shout at each other. It's to actually recognize that we are each coming with a particular lens, a particular relationship to this great story. And that's why Renaissance and the emerging Renaissance, in context to what's going on now, I feel is relocating us to say, let me begin my story where I love. Let me honor the inheritance, not simply of the book I am living, but all the books in the library. Because we're at a point where if we include not simply the things we like or the things we don't like, but we include the living tree, that to be human is difficult. It's always an alchemy that demands of us, can I show up not to blame, but to bring forth? And in the Renaissance, it wasn't one person showing up. It was those of like mind saying, if we care about these things, we create place for these things. And this is what I'm trying to do, and I think many of us are trying to do, is to give place, like a gardener that says, if I grow this here, maybe I won't teach you, but I'll inspire you to trust your own gardener. So that's my look at these things. Thanks.